Hello?
Hey, Dima, this is Josh from 1-800-BJJ-HELP. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah, of course. Excited for you to be on the podcast. We were reminiscing about how you first came on the scene when no one really knew you, back when Jake had you on like 2 years ago. So if people haven't listened to that episode, go back and check that one out. But maybe to start off, can you share a little bit about that time and your conversation you had with Jake?
Yeah, actually, to this day, people are coming up to me and telling me about this podcast or this video that we did on the channel, on your channel, till to this day. Like, I think the last one that came up to me was a week ago, something like this. Yeah, actually. So, this was a big thing for my career. So, this time in general was pretty good because, like, I was coming up as a coach, Joseph was coming up as a competitor, and then obviously your video just shot us through the roof. People want to know more, and this is pretty much how all started.
Everyone was asking you about the perfect strategy after
Oh,
that video.
damn, yeah, yeah. The thing is, people knew me for strategy back then, right? Or mainly for strategy. So the number one question that I would get is, what's the best for strategy? And I'm like, what do you mean? Which strategy? What are we talking about? Who are the players? What's the game? What are the skills? So in order to know the perfect strategy, you need to know all of this first. And my main idea or my main thing is not to just do strategy. This would be stupid for a coach. The strategy is a result based on the things that you did before. So developing a good style, developing skills comes first, great, or even second. First comes to have a good spirit around the room, spirit around what we want to achieve, that we're all together on this thing. Because I think jiu-jitsu is a team sport. It's not an individual sport. Like, you can see it as an individual sport because you go out there alone, but it makes a big difference where you train and what your mindset is to this. And mindsets are sharpened by your surroundings. So, yeah, that's the perfect strategy. Do not focus on strategy.
There you go. When we were having lunch, you were like, everybody wants to hear about two things. And so let's jump right into what are your thoughts on B Team versus New Wave this last CJI?
Yes, yes, I think this was, people were outraged, right? And if you think about this, it's like a movie. So the build-up was there for, I don't know how many years now, 3 years, probably around 3 years, 4 years. And in the beginning, people thought that they like each other, that it's a show, like they're just playing with us. But there was actually conflict, right, between B Team and New Wave. So it built itself up, and it actually had a perfect ending, in my opinion, because both teams faced each other in the final of the biggest tournament of all times, where you can win 1 million. Just the ending was unsatisfied for people, unsatisfying. I don't even think because of the result, but because of the event. People were envisioning something different than it was because of CGI 1. But you guys have to understand, CGI 1 was different. It's like one against one. And Craig is not only showman, he's an innovator. He wants to experiment. And he tried to experiment with the quintet style. And I don't think it's bad. I think it was good, but it wasn't as good as the matches from CGI 1. But the whole event was still one of the best events ever. Athletes made so much money. So if you guys are complaining, you are just forgetting how the sport was 5, 6 years ago. Imagine you tell someone you get 10K to compete. People were competing against other people to get 10K. And they were competing against the best people in the world. So, yeah. Flash forward, we are in the final, and B Team wins. Many say it's a controversial decision, but it's hard to talk about this because you can shift it in both directions. But in the end, B Team won. B Team won, and maybe people envision something else because it's an end of an era, right? And we can talk about the end of an era in a second, but it's the end of an era, and people are just thinking about a big boom, that something crazy happens. But no, it's just a couple of human beings that are really good in jiu-jitsu, that are facing each other, And yeah, that was about it. And now it's over. No, like B team is not there anymore. Craig is gone from B team. I will probably not go there back anymore. I do my own thing. Who knows who goes back there? The Simple Man boys are doing their thing, and I wish them the best. I think they can do a great job at developing a good MMA system because they want to go into MMA. And in my opinion, this was a perfect ending. So that's the end of an era, the era that Gordon Ryan probably started. In my opinion, Gordon Ryan started the era, and everybody that got big, Gordon Ryan was part of it. So it doesn't matter if you like him or not. He started the era. Because of him, not mainly, but he's a big part. Danaher got his shine. Craig came up, and so on. And then we had the storylines, and now it was a good time. Now we have to move on.
Yeah, this is a really interesting transition point. Could you maybe paint the picture a little bit about the state of jiu-jitsu in this moment, and then also the state of jiu-jitsu in Europe?
Yeah, so I think the state in America is probably the highest. You guys have the most opportunities. You guys have the best mindset, in my opinion, because in America, it's not like in Europe. Like in Europe, it's mainly people envision their lives before they are born. So they have a very strict idea of how they should live their life. You grow up, you go to school, you go to university, or you just do a random job, normal job, you work, then you buy a house, or in this economy, you probably will not buy a house, but this is what everybody's still trying. And then you get your pension, you have your kids, you have your grandkids, and then you're dying, right? In the US, it's a bit different. In the US, it's the land of opportunity. So nobody really knows what will happen before they are born. Like you can tell what your kid will be. Your kid could be a singer, could be a football player, could be a president. Like everything is possible. So this is why I believe that America is still the best place to do jujitsu, just because the mindset is different. And I believe the mindset, or what I call the Geist, it's like a German word that combines multiple words, so it's hard to translate, but it's pretty much like the spirit, ghost, time, all interconnected, the energy around you. And it's the best in the US. And I think just because people have the ability to watch videos like your videos and access everything around the world, the mindset is shifting in Europe. And I can only speak for you. I've been to a couple of places now, Australia, UK, stuff like this, but I will talk mainly about Europe. And I think the mindset is shifting. People don't like the current system anymore, a lot of them. Not only the like normal system that they live in, but you can translate this into jiu-jitsu. And more people are really believing in making a living with jiu-jitsu. So the more the belief will be strengthened by your community, by yourself, by the Geist, the better results you will produce because people are willing to put in more time, more energy. And in my belief, the biggest power comes from belief. So the biggest energy will come from belief. You see in the world old people reigning on, like they're reigning, they're presidents, they're pretty old, right? But they have more energy than a lot of 20-year-olds. Why? Because they have a mission. They believe in what they do and they have more energy than everyone. So it's the belief that gives you energy, and the belief is finally shifting in Europe. And I believe that I'm a big part of it just because I had the opportunity to go to the US, to work with the best people, to prepare them. So people are actually believing in it now. So my job is to create this Geist and sharpen Germany first, and maybe then all of Europe. And then we will see people, great people with great talents coming from all around the world. Because people with great talent are everywhere. It's not only in the US. I would argue the most talented people that I saw are in Germany, Berlin. Me personally, just because I teach more classes there. So they're everywhere. But I'm telling you, for me, the two most talented people that I ever saw were in Berlin. But they don't have a chance to just quit their jobs or go away from school and train full time. Where? I'm not there, for example, right now. So my job will be to create the same guys that you guys have in the US that is beautiful and spread it like a virus so people can live for what they or how they really want to live.
Yeah, last night we were talking. I can feel the belief. Like even
Yeah.
last night when we talked about, I said I would love to talk to you about your vision for the future and like what's next for Dima, and I can feel the belief as you're speaking.
Yeah.
So yeah, what is next for Dima? What are your plans in Berlin and beyond?
Yeah. So again, this is, in my opinion, in jiu-jitsu, an end of an era. You saw the climax, CGI 2, and I believe you also see numbers wise and excitement wise, people are not paying that much attention to the sport of jiu-jitsu anymore, like the entertainment aspect where Gordon will go out and he will fight Nicky Rod and this and that. It's going down slightly, but this is good because it's an end of an era. So we need to build the next era. But in general, jiu-jitsu is on the highest high. If you see, more schools than ever are opening up, more members than ever are coming to jiu-jitsu schools. And I think there are two reasons for this. Number one, I think the economy and all of this stuff is getting a little bit worse. So people are a little bit more depressed, they're a little bit more stressed. And jiu-jitsu is one of the best ways to get rid of the stress, to get in the flow state, to forget about everything in this world that we built to ourselves, this fake or real world, however you want to call it. And then you are really just in the moment. In my opinion, this is the real world. And the more time you spend in this real world, the not happier, but the more peaceful you will be. And being peaceful is what we thrive to be, right? We are not trying to be happy all the time. It's like being on drugs the whole time. You will have it down. But being peaceful, nothing better than this. So, like, commercial buildings are closing, academies are opening up, people are going to the academies, people are seeing people, they spend time with each other. It doesn't matter which race you are, it doesn't matter which beliefs you have, you just roll with each other. Tunnel vision, the moment, the it. So this is very appealing to people. And number two is that it's natural for us, right? Martial arts are natural for us, and people don't really want to get brain damage. So everybody wants to do martial arts. Doesn't matter if they believe in it or not. Look at them when they are children. They try to attack you. They roll over the floor. They play with you. And if you are angry at your friend, you'll probably not hit him. You'll probably grapple with him, right? So I believe it's in us. And now we all have the opportunity to actually do it. So it helps our mind. It helps our body. And you don't need to know the best people in the world. You don't need to have the best technique in the world. You just need to go into your next gym and be with your friends. And then you will have a good time. And I think this is why you see more and more gyms. And trust me, if you go into the most gyms in Germany, ask them who Gordon Ryan is, ask them who Nicky Ryan is. Most people will not know this. No. It's even, I don't know how it's in the US, but if you go around Europe, most people in jiu-jitsu are beginners. Beginners are not starting because of Gordon Ryan. Okay? He has 1 million followers. Beginners are starting because they feel empty. They are missing something. Maybe they want to defend themselves. Maybe they heard from someone, oh, jiu-jitsu, that's the next great thing. You guys know it's like CrossFit was. It's the next great thing. Let's try it out. Let's do it. So we have to understand that most people that come into the door are just regular people that want to escape the world that they are living in or want to have a little bit of relief because there's so much stress in the current day. I hope that makes sense. And yeah, jiu-jitsu provides for this without brain damage. So this is why I think the rise will come. And now we'll come to the question was, where do I see jiu-jitsu going in the future, right? So
Actually, before we get to where jiu-jitsu is going,
Yeah.
I want to stick to this point of this end of the era, this opportunity for all these gyms to open up. There's so many gyms. We were just talking about there's like 5 around where PJ's gym is here in South Bay. What do you think most gyms are doing wrong? And what do you hope for the next generation of gym owners? What do you hope for them to do right?
yeah, really good question. And I can't actually wait for PJ. He has a call right now, but we plan to do this podcast with him, so he will probably come in a second. And I want to hear his thoughts about it because we are right now in his academy, and I think he does a really good job. He does a really good job of running his academy. His students are really good. He's connected to them. He himself is a great competitor, so I'm looking forward to do this. And I can give my opinion on this, but I'm not claiming to be an expert to know all the gyms, what they are doing. I just say what I see, what I think. So take everything that I say with a grain of salt. I believe we should treat jiu-jitsu gyms and coaching more like professional jobs, like jobs that you, for example, being a doctor. Imagine you get your degree in the year 2000 and you're practicing in the year 2025 without any other education afterwards. You will probably do surgeries that you'll go to prison for if you would do them today, right? So this is what I see with most academies. They got their black belts 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and they just continue the things that they did. They don't really think about how can the student improve. They don't really think about what makes all of us better. They don't think about the guys. They just have the structure. They're just sticking to it because that's what they know, right? So I think this is a very big mistake. I think you should always try to learn and adapt and go outside of your ways. So it's a full-time job and you need to be able to constantly improve on it. And this is one thing. The other thing is it's the culture or the Geist. Me personally, I don't like to be too strict. I don't like to pretend that I'm something great or greater because I have a black belt, or it doesn't really make sense to me. Like, a hierarchy is not bad, but it can be bad. It can lead to cults, cultural behavior. And I think it's very easy in jiu-jitsu. So you see a lot of gyms where people are very admiring their coach. They listen to him for everything, and he's like a godlike figure. And I think the more this happens, the harder it will be to build a room with the same guys that leads to progression. And yeah, these two things I think are very important. And then there are other things that in the US you guys need to improve hygiene. Like I in Germany it's very hard to open a gym. So you need to have a shower, you need to have this, you need to have that. So it's very regulated. And I'm a big disbeliever of regulating too much of bureaucrat. I don't know what the word is in English. We call it bureaucratie. Like
Bureaucracy.
yeah, bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Bureaucracy is almost the same. And I'm not a big fan of this, but I think structure and hygiene is really important. So, but I say this, that's more of a mistake of the US government, because if you don't give the rules, people will do whatever to just train. So this is something that US gyms can definitely improve on.
Are you open to talking about your plans in Berlin?
Yeah, for sure. I think, is he still on the...
Yeah, he's still on the call. Yeah, he's still on the call.
You still on the call, PJ? Okay. Yeah. So I didn't really wanted to stay in Berlin. So I live in Berlin. I love Germany. I really love Germany. I feel the thing is, in my heart, I'm a German, but I was born in Ukraine, right? But I really feel like a German and I love everything about it, or most things about it. But Berlin is not my favorite place. I like things that are a bit more coordinated. So Berlin is crazy. It's funky, right? But sometimes it's not clean. So if you go out of the streets, it's not that clean. But you expect from Germany that everything is clean. You expect that the trains are on time. You expect that people are maybe not the nicest, but also not unfriendly, that they pay attention. And in Berlin, it seems like everything is a bit dark. So I wouldn't say it's the place where I would envision my kids to grow up. But I made up the decision that I want to open up a gym right there. I think it's safe to say that I could open up a gym anywhere and it will probably do okay. But I feel like I have to do it in Berlin because of the reasons that I stated before. And one of the reasons is the talent around Berlin. PJ, my friend, come here. Come here. You're coming into the perfect time. We're talking about gyms.
Nice.
So, yeah, I'll just finish with my gym, and then I would actually like to hear the same answers from PJ for the questions, because I think he has more experience in this. So, in Berlin, we have a lot of people that are talented, so talented. Like, I had a girl coming in. She beat the shit out of grown men that are brown belts after a couple of weeks. And she just doesn't she doesn't really want to be the best in the world or anything. She just did it for fun and didn't show up anymore after this. So there are people like this all around in Germany, all around in Europe. And that's what I say. I don't think it's the thing of talent that makes the US a bit better in jiu-jitsu. It's the opportunity and the geist. So if I can provide for the geist, the people actually will have a home. And I will try to make it not too expensive, so everybody actually can come and they can work their asses off and they can get the benefits that I spoke about earlier, that if you have a hard time, you will find a new community, you will find a new family, and you can live in the now. You are not living under stress when you're on the mats, or it's different stress, but not stress of life. So a lot of people are waiting in Europe, professional people and not professional people. In my opinion, the not professional people, these are the people that I want to help the most. I don't want to have a gym where everybody is a world champion. I want to have a gym where a world champion comes in, rolls with a 40-year-old guy that trains twice a week, and asks himself, what is happening here? That's what I envision. That's what I want. And I feel like it's my mission, that's my belief, to open this in Berlin, in the middle of Germany, in the middle of, or not completely middle of Germany, but in the middle of Europe, to help out these people. I will do it for 3 to 5 years. And then after that, maybe I will do something else. So these are the plans. And you see the end of an era, also in B team, like Joseph will do his own thing. Owen has his gym in Atlanta. I'm going to Berlin. And it's kind of, we are writing our own chapters now. It doesn't mean that we are not coming together once every while, but everybody is about to build their own thing. And now, if we talk about this gym where we are right now, in 10th Planet South Bay, PJ does a great job, and he's already experienced with it. So I'm doing a seminar here for 2 days, but I'm also mainly here to learn from what he does here, so I can absorb it, because he's one of the few that I would consider great coaches and also great academy owners. These are two different things. And the points that I talked about earlier, you will not see these problems in here. You'll probably see things that I will also pick up. So maybe we can go to PJ so he can explain what he envisions with his gym here.
Yeah, what do you envision with your gym? And what were some hard lessons you learned that first year that if you can go back to yourself as a gym owner in your first year, give yourself some advice, what would you have said?
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough, right? Because so for instance, this place has been open for about 2 years. But I ran another gym for 5 years or something like that, right? And so I was the head instructor and I was teaching 17 classes a week or something like that, like a lot of classes. And as far as like lessons you learn and stuff, I don't know. I think like what Dima's talking about with like learning and observing, I think this is really important. I think I only had one model to shape my gym after when I first started, and it was like how Boogie and Gio do things. And I mean, freak, they have really good gyms, like they have so many members. And so I'm glad that I had such a good example to go after, right? But there's a lot of ways to do things too, and there's a lot of ways like, because, there's everything that is like good also has flaws. And, you can just kind of pick from each and see, you know what I mean? Because there were some things that Boogie did that like was really positive for how it got people onto the mats and things like that. But also it had negative effects and things like that too, And so, and I even have my own trials with this as well, because I saw Boogie coming down on sometimes, or being like putting a lot of pressure onto guys to show up and train more and stuff like that. And I would see how it affected them sometimes. And And I remember thinking in my head, like, man, maybe this guy should actually go to college or something. You know what I mean? Like, or something like that, like, and, um, and then so I took that with me when I went over, and I had trouble sometimes believing in jujitsu for people sometimes, like I had trouble like trying to force them to come in more and things like that. And because I was like swinging too far away from how Boogie operated sometimes, and then, you know, when I look back too, maybe it was a bit harsh sometimes and stuff. And Boogie's like calmed down a little bit. He's had some kids and stuff, but like the same guys that he was hard on now own gyms and jujitsu is their life. You know what I mean? Like it did work out for them. They had something to look forward to because maybe college wasn't going to be for them or like whatever, and they made all their friends there doing that and going through those trials and things. Right. And so I think firsthand, I had to spend like a year or two really believing in what jujitsu could offer people, and I think that's what started to happen was I just started to watch these guys that like came in, they didn't have a lot going for them. They were 20 something years old or whatever. And I remember thinking like, shit, man, I don't know, maybe you should get a girlfriend or something. You know what I mean? And then I'd find out that like these guys were actually like getting into better shape, dressing nicer, making friends, communicating better. And then they got a girlfriend and then they quit jujitsu, a lot of them, and then they break up and then they come back. But like, I just started seeing firsthand like so many benefits to so many people in like believing in something and getting behind something and becoming a part of the community and stuff like that. They're like, it didn't feel like sales anymore to me, because the first year or two felt like sales to me. It felt like, oh man, like I'm pushing this thing on these people. I'm trying to get them to spend all this money. Like, maybe they should like spend it on like something to better themselves in another way or go invest in the stock market or something. I don't know. But like, it's so good for people's spirit in so many ways, and of course it can go wrong when it gets culty or you're like forcing people to train and not being with their family or something, or they're getting hurt because they're doing too much or something like that. Like it can go the other way too hard. But generally, like, my membership here with San Diego prices costs the same as one night out to eat in San Diego, for the most part with your girl or whatever, like you spend $200 or whatever when you go out. This is an entire month of something really good for you. And so like when I think for me, like I had the belief when I came here already. And it wasn't a sales pitch ever. It was like, no, I know this is what's best for you. I mean, maybe not always, this is why I always start out as like when I'm talking to somebody, like, where do you live? You know what I mean? Like, how far away are you? What's your free time look like? You know what I mean? Because yeah, don't spend $200 if you have no way of getting in here and you're gonna sit in traffic and it's gonna suck for you. You know what I mean? So like, generally, I try to figure out what the problems are for them to come in first, and then it's like, okay, if it kind of makes sense, then what are you doing? Get in here, man. You know what I mean? Do this thing. So like that belief was obviously I didn't need it here, but I think in the first 2 years that was something big for me. And like I said, staying humble and being able to like I said, I only had one model and it was a great model. I got very fortunate in that way. Like I saw how he communicated and brought people together. They are some of the best. Boogie and G are some of the best at like creating like a culture of belief and togetherness and like, and this, they're so good at it, man. Like I know a few people in the sport that are really good at this, and there are two people that are really, really good at this. So I was blessed in that sense. But then like when I went to go open this gym, I did a trip from New York all the way down to Florida, and I stopped at a ton of gyms. I did some seminars, but mainly I was trying to stop at all the gyms that I thought were doing a great job. A lot of them were in the system in 10th Planet, and then some weren't, like Wagner's and Fight Sports and different spots like that. And I'm just in there figuring out like why they built the gym the way they did, like why they're like who's working the desk at what times, like how many members they have, how they deal with retention, how they get people in, what their culture feels like, how they operate their classes, what their schedule looks like, and just like taking all the information in that I can. Because we start thinking that there's a way of doing something, and I think you can pretty quickly realize that like there's a lot to learn still, and I think like staying open-minded, because I think so many people are, they get stuck in their ways of doing things, and I think it's smart of Dima to like look to people with XP in these fields and stuff like that and figure out what's going on. I don't want to go on any more of a tangent, but like, yeah, I don't know.
But before you hopped on, Dima was talking about the importance of belief and the importance of like continuing to gain
You
knowledge.
said everything, right?
And you just like
Oh, funny.
said that perfectly in your monologue
Nice.
there. Yeah.
My monologue.
But yeah, the other thing about like the sales thing, because I've been doing a lot of like sales research. And one thing that really hit home with me was like, you're not trying to sell this person, you're trying to help them make a decision. And exactly like you said, like you're trying to get the information about them to help them make the most informed decision that would help them
Yeah.
ultimately, you know? And yeah, I mean, everything you just said, I think I love the mindset. I love the school, obviously. And yeah.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, it's cool. I probably could have read more books to figure it out, but I did like intuitively figured it all out, you know, or not all of it, but I mean like the things that I'm speaking about, at least, you know, I have a better understanding of it, I think intuitively through trial and error, you know.
What were the biggest challenges that you had to overcome in your first year that you just didn't expect to have to deal with?
I mean, you know, every situation is so different. For my situation, it was just getting like people in the door. You know, that was my biggest thing, and we had to. So the people that I was with that operated that owned that gym, they also were with Boogie and Geo as well, and they had a particular system that was really good, and I'm grateful for learning that system too. But they made you make 10 member calls a day, basically. So you had to call 10 people, and like there's no text messages. There's like calls. You know, you had a sheet you had to fill out. I was lucky to have 10 students when I started over there. You know, like I was lucky to like sit down on the mats and like at 6:30 just pray somebody showed up. You know, I was sitting there like just lost, and like maybe one person walked in, and then I'd be like, "This is sick," but like I also don't want to just train with this guy for an hour. So like, please, somebody else come in too. You know, like 'cause this feels a bit sad, and so like just getting people there was tough in that environment, right? It was out in Spring Valley where you're gonna be, and it's a little bit like just a different market and the place we were, and like when people Googled 10th Planet, like they didn't. We were 10 minutes away from Boogie's, you know, like they had all the marketing, they had all like a great gym already. Like it's not like anybody came because most times people came because they went to the wrong 10th Planet.
No way.
I swear. And then other than that, it was like, I don't know, people that came to do some kickboxing that I'd have to like harass from across the thing. Like, come on, man, just try it. Just try to do this thing in here. And so like, I mean, I went door to door. I had a good friend. I've always like worked hard to try to find mentors and stuff. And I had a good friend that was in like sales and did like solar. And I had like, you know, a lot of friends like this, but he used to tell me all the time about going door to door selling his solar when he first started his company. And then he's obviously like created a lot of wealth in a good company, but like he used to go just door to door doing this stuff. And I was like, let me try this. And so like I used to go, like I would teach my morning classes, and then from like noon to 4 when classes started again, I was just out in the streets going door to door with flyers like, hey, you got kids? You know what I mean? Hey, like, you know, who's of age? You know what I mean? We got a gym over here. And I was going door to door. I don't think any of it worked. I was like posting signs up on every corner, driving around, like going to every store and telling them about the gym, leaving flyers. I didn't even own the gym. You know what I mean? Like I got paid the same no matter what, but like living in Boogie's shadow was tough. You know, it was tough to have 3 people in class while Boogie had 60 in class at the same time. You know, maybe it's my ego, but like that was, you know, it was motivation, or it was just tough. It was tough to live in that shadow for a long time.
How did you start to get more members and then start growing?
Well, like I said, the member calls, I built a really good foundation with who I had, you know, because I'd call the same people every day because I had to make 10 member calls. You know what I mean? I'd call them and be like, dude, I'm at work. What do you think? And I'm like, well, are you coming to train tonight, dude? You know? And I built really good relationships with these people. Like Joey's one of them. You know Joey at this point, right? Like the big guy you guys talked to Joey, right?
He's been
Joey's
day
one of them. You know what I mean? There's a few left for sure. There's a
You
few
still
left.
call him every day?
No. Now I'm screening his calls. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But So like, yeah, I think I built a really solid foundation with those guys, man, and they became like a good crew that people wanted. Like people felt good when they came in around it, right? And I think we just had to get a little bit of momentum, man.
Yeah.
I think once we got a little bit of momentum, it was okay, because it's like it's tough when somebody wants to come try out a class and there's 3 people in. It's not very exciting. There's not, you know what I mean? It's like there's no product for them, really, you know. And then like once there's a little momentum going, it was hard to get anybody, like nobody over blue belt would stay unless it was just for me, you know what I mean? Because it was like I'd have to train with them every time they came in, because otherwise there was nobody else to train with. So it was all brand new people for the most part. But yeah, I had to, that was from scratch, you know. Here, like the foundation was set. I set the whole foundation over there, you know.
Mhm.
And, you know, we had our unfortunate events over there. Like they sold the gym. The people they sold it to like moved in their own people and shit like that. I mean, I got fired on the spot, and like most of the gym quit that day. Like they came
Wow.
in like to the front desk and like quit, canceled their membership, like did whatever they could to try to get their money back for like their paid in fulls and stuff like that. And then I was like, what are you guys doing, man? I don't have a gym. Like we can't go anywhere. You know what I mean? Like I got nothing for you. But I forgot the question.
No, you answered the question. Dima, I'm curious for you coming to see PJ's gym, what was your intention or hope? Like, what did you really want to learn and take away from this experience?
Yeah. So the number one thing that I believe is like the most important thing is really the Geist that I talked about already. The idea and sense of what do we want to achieve together, the energy in the room, the community, the thought that if we are all aligned, if we are synchronized, this is where the energy comes from, right? So this is the number one thing. And this is why I think you see a lot of successful gyms financially and competitive wise, where I would disagree with if this is the best method to coach people to acquire skill, right? And then you have the opposite, where you see a lot of good coaches and people that understand how to acquire skill, but they don't have really successful gyms, right? So the number one thing is the Geist. This is what I want to see. This is what I want to understand everywhere. Number two, how do you coach? How do you make your people acquire skill? And how fast do they acquire the skill, right? Because in the end, we can debate and like theorize like philosophers about this is the best training method, this is the best training method. But if
We
you
sure do.
we do, yeah, we
That's our whole
All
podcast.
day it
That's
was
our
an
whole
argument of
podcast.
CLA, me and Dima.
yeah, but it's not even an argument. I think we are what's that?
Oh, it's just a pop up. It's fine. Yeah.
So
That's why he tried to stab you. Huh?
Still trying to figure out why.
maybe I did. No, so yeah, the coaching aspect is a very, very big aspect. And I think because PJ is doing like full CLA here, I'm very interested in what he does, what Greg does. I spoke to Greg for 2 to 3 hours in Vegas, and I would say our ideas are pretty aligned on most things. And this is why I also want to get better understanding of everything so I can implement it and see if the results get better. So back to what I want to say. If the people are getting better in a short amount of time, over a period of time with different people, I don't care what you do. It's right. It's correct. It's correct for this setting. I don't know if it's correct for me, but it's correct for this setting. So this is what I want to understand in a lot of academies, not in all academies. Academies where I trust the people and I trust Peter. Like most people don't know this, but he's one of the best coaches I know. He's a great coach. He's actually learning, getting better, improving people.
I paid him to say that.
I almost stabbed him. Don't forget this. I almost stabbed this man. No need for me to lie. So I learned a lot already, and I'm already making up my own ideas how I can implement my concepts, how to make my people like do it and improve on it. So I learned a lot, and I will continue to learn. So I'm very thankful to be here. So these are the two main things that I want to see. And other things, obviously, like basic things. How big is the mat? How is the facility? Like, what price should I pay? And stuff like this. because I'm a rookie in this game. He's not. So it's very beneficial for me to be here.
I was just gonna say, like, I think he's like hit the nail on the head in terms of like what it's gonna take to be successful there, right? I think it's just like it's this combination of the culture, and then does the culture align with also creating good jiu-jitsu? You know what I mean? Because like sometimes you do see gyms with great culture and kind of shit jiu-jitsu, you know, and then sometimes there's like great jiu-jitsu in a gym, but like there's no butts on the mat, and there's, you know what I mean, and they're trying to fight each other all the time, or it's just, you know, they can't create a good culture around the whole situation. And so like being able to blend those two, like everything else will just fall into place in terms of like making money, in terms of having good athletes, in terms of, you know, creating something, you know.
How do you create good culture? That seems very
Starts
difficult.
at the head, man.
What's that?
It starts at the head, you know.
Yeah.
It's got to be, it's a top down approach, I think, you know. And for me, like now it's tougher here because like it was easier back then when I was teaching 17 classes a week. Now I'm teaching 4 or 5 classes because competition is my main focus. Luckily, a lot of the people that are coaching here have been with me for some time, but like I now feel more like the coach's coach, you know, and I try to teach when I can and build it amongst them. But like a lot of these people have better relationships with the other instructors here. And that's great. I wanted that, you know what I mean? And I want them to have their own flavor of how they teach and what they do. I don't need them to be carbon copies of me in any sense, you know, like I want variation for them and stuff, but it has to be good, and it has to be in alignment with like how I think and how I want the gym to think as well. So like we have consistent meetings on like, you know, what we're teaching, how we're talking to people, what we're talking about, how we're leading the classes, what the structure looks like. I mean, we do this often. We put a lot more focus here in the instructors than we do in the front desk. And that's a different model than a lot of gyms. You know, a lot of gyms put a lot of focus into, you know, how they operate the front desk, how they do sales, how they handle leads. And I could probably do more of that too. But like I've told Dima too, like it's really important for me that like we have a system here that really keeps and holds on to in a meaningful way everybody that steps into the door. Because if we're just turning over because we have a great front desk staff that has a ton of people coming in, but they aren't being touched by every instructor in the right way and creating friendships and bonds in here and getting better at jiu-jitsu, then I don't want them to come in the door. You know what I mean? And right now, my amount of like leads is fine with having a light front desk and light marketing strategies and things like that. Like we're at what we can handle right now to create the systems and the culture and all these kinds of things. I don't know. That doesn't really maybe answer the culture question, but like in a sense it does, right?
You answered this in the first sentence.
Yeah.
The belief comes from the belief, right? This
Yeah.
where your culture comes from. Because you said, how do you create a good culture? There is no such thing as a good culture.
Yeah.
Because the culture is just there to achieve the goals that you believe in, right? For example, Rome took over everything because of their belief. Macedonia.
This has been a thing the last 2 days too, this whole Rome thing.
That's all, no, okay. Let me talk
It's
about
just regurgitating some Chinese dude on YouTube.
Let me talk about Macedonia.
Driving me crazy. Everything turns back to Rome or Macedonia. How you conquer the world.
But that's what I mean. It's not good or bad because they destroyed and killed a lot of people, but they got their idea through the world. And it's because of their belief.
He's been using really good references from it. He has like great analogies, like good historical references to. I told him it's have you guys heard of like, you know, Robert Greene?
Yeah.
He has those books, and like sometimes they're a little bit annoying, but he has that like 28 Laws of Power book. And in that book, they use all the historical references to explain the things. And I feel like Dima's doing that a lot with like, I don't know, creating a dictatorship in his gym.
We're in Germany, brother.
Yeah.
That's the Geist.
I'm sad we have to head out in a few minutes, but I would be remiss. I want to hear, you mentioned at lunch, people want to hear about CLA and ecological, and maybe you can give us a peek behind the curtain of how the debate's been going and what points are you guys debating?
Yeah. So I think most of it is if you can constrain like if you can use this approach for a whole session, for every session. I think this is where the debate, or what the debate is about. And I say there are times and places where it's better not to do it. But again, I'm not that experienced in it, so I can be wrong. But most of the time we agree, I would say. Or what would you say?
Yeah, I think so. The, where Dima varies a little bit, I would say, is that like he's not always trying to create the same environment as competition, and this is like when he's scale, like it's called ecological jiu-jitsu because you're creating the same environments that you're gonna participate in, right? And so like he's not always being ecological with his approach because there's layered in resistance, and I find value in these without a doubt, but like I've also given him like my reasoning against them, and how you can create similar like constraints without a nebulous force. Like I feel like sometimes in the way that the design is happening, there's some nebulous in like what your resistance is. And I don't know, this debate's happened 100 times already, so I don't need to do it again, but like but it doesn't mean that there's not value in it. I'm not sure, and I think everybody's going to respond differently to different things and stuff. I think for me personally, like I don't know, I can't say one way or the other. I do think that like I've told Dima too that like I think he can do a lot of the stuff that he's doing and creating and thinking and how he's thinking about it within a framework that is still like he could pull a lot from the framework of the CLA, right? And the same in your design for your games and stuff like that. I think like if you like, because you already have the conceptual ideas that you want to see in your head more or less, but if you could use the framework to explain them better, it's great. Like some of these like with discovering the invariance behind what's making like, and then also like the outcomes as well, like, but in some senses, like where I find that Dima is such a good coach is his like very personalized divine design for individuals, and I think that like he's good at, he has a great eye for seeing what people need, and this in a sense, like you could find ways to create games to see that emerge. You can also have like a little bit of guidance too, and I think that's more or less what he's doing. Like he's creating like here, like it's all pretty similar what Dima's doing, except for layering the resistance in, and then I think as well like creating just clearer, like a clearer framework for some of the games, right? It would be like probably a cool thing that you could pull away from the CLA.
I agree. And this is what I want to achieve, because everything that I do it just comes from me. I never knew what it was, and people were referring to, they say ecological. Greg hates the word, but I will use it now because you guys like it.
I think it was just because it was being thrown around willy-nilly without really understanding what it all meant,
So people told me, oh, you do this. I didn't even understand what it is. So it means it comes natural to me, right? And I do a lot of similar things, but different, because it comes from me. So this is also why I want to learn more. And maybe in the end, I can use all of this, and then I can make a better judgment, because Peter is also saying this, like he's a purple belt in CLA, right? Greg is the only black belt in Jiu-Jitsu and CLA. So, but that's the thing. It comes back to belief. Do I believe that I need to go to purple belt to make a good decision? Or can I do it already? That's all about belief. Me personally, I think it's really good. I think what he does is great. And again, we are doing pretty similar things. He's just way more specific in the framework that CLA.
And I think too, like, if you look at like, maybe you have a black belt instructor in terms of jiu-jitsu, let's say, or a black belt, and they've clearly their experience levels is just so much higher, and they've already parsed out so much bullshit. So when this purple belt is in the gym doing buggy chokes or something like that, you're like, this is dumb, don't do this, whatever, or whatever it is. I don't know, But then like when you do get a purple belt that's like pretty creative and thoughtful and putting like real time into it and stuff like that, they might pose real questions to the black belt at different times, and I'm not saying that there is, and like that even like there's any sort of, but like there's still value. The purple belt brings that value, you know what I mean? It's the same reason why like I like having guys like Owen come in and Joseph come in and these guys, because like I'm a bit older now and we start to like get more hardened in our ways a little bit and stuff. And it's nice to have a 20-year-old that like doesn't have any ways yet, and they're throwing caution to the wind on different things and ideas and stuff. And it's cool to have the bouncing feedback of like the wisdom of the older or the black belt, and then the person that is like challenging them a little bit and mostly getting knocked down in some kind of ways. But like every once in a while it's bringing like more wisdom to that guy when he's trying to either explain why they're wrong or bringing something to the table that's like, hey, maybe there is value in this thing that you're doing differently and stuff like that, And I think that Dima's bringing like different perspectives and thought processes to things that are interesting. You know what I mean? For sure. I mean, like nobody was talking about a low heart rate, this and that until Dima started talking about it. And still it's like, again, it comes with its own challenges, you know what I mean? But like there's use and application, and there's proof in the pudding too for his athletes and the people that he's worked with, you know what I mean? So who am I to say, like I said, purple belt, max, I don't know, you know what I mean? But I do, yeah, there's a lot of degeneracy in coaching too, where there's like a lot of different ways to skin the cat.
Yeah, and maybe we can wrap up with this. I know, Dima, you mentioned there's the Geist, and then there's are these people getting better in a quick time, like the skill, and that's where the CLA conversation is, the nuances of all that. But the Geist is number one. You'd mentioned there's like a German word for it, or there's like a translate.
So
maybe we can end with what is Geist?
Yeah, so that's the thing. In Germany, the Geist is is getting popular by, damn, I forgot his name, but it's a German philosopher. I think it's Kant, if I'm...
Immanuel Kant.
Yeah, Immanuel. I'm not sure if it's Kant, but let's say it's Kant. I will double check in a second. So it's pretty much a combination of your soul, a ghost, that's how we call it, and spirit and time. So it's like the energy around it. So it's a very, very powerful word. So you can also compare the Geist to the universe, to God. So that's a very, very powerful word. And this is pretty much, you notice when you come into a place where you feel like home, right? You know this feeling. So the Geist gives you the feeling. If you come somewhere and you feel it, or if you are with a person and you feel it, this is the energy that is surrounded. Damn, was it Kant or Nietzsche? But yeah, I didn't get much sleep the last days in total, but I'll figure it out in a second. Learn about the Geist.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you both for coming on. I know there's so much more we could talk about, but we're packing Jake's schedule with as much training as we can.
I think we still should talk about how I almost killed him today, because...
Yes. Okay. Let's wrap up on, I want to hear both sides of the story here about how...
The thing is, I'm very task driven, like constraint lead approach. So my constraint is I just wanted to get the food into his mouth. So I had a good
I'm
omelet.
already like a little bit uncomfortable with Dima feeding me. So like I also didn't want the food that bad, but I was being nice.
No. What do you mean by uncomfortable? Like I cut the omelet. I want to put it in his plate. I want to put it in his plate. He looks at me. So I'm like, okay, I will put it into your mouth. And then it was falling off. So I tried to keep it on, but I didn't realize that I tried to keep it on with a very sharp knife. So I was shoving this knife in his mouth. He wanted me to stop, but I didn't stop because I'm very task driven. And this is how I almost killed him. Then he lost his appetite, and I had the rest of his meal. That was pretty good.
I mean, more or less, but I will say that like the man had a knife in this hand and a fork in this hand. I don't even know why he had the knife there at all.
Yeah, at all. Yeah.
Don't need a knife to hold food.
No, I was afraid that the omelet falls off.
The knife's not a butter knife. It's extremely sharp. And so as I'm noticing this knife get closer, I'm getting a bit uncomfortable and I'm backing away. And somehow the fork's moving out of the way with the food and the knife keeps going. And it's starting to pierce like my gums underneath of my tongue before I'm like, yo, the fuck?
When
Some
you guys,
common
when,
sense,
when
dude.
you guys scream, that's when I realized.
Somehow this is happening though. The food's disappearing.
Yeah, I could see Dima trying to catch it and then trying to put it in your mouth, and you're backing away, and the knife's just coming closer. And you're like,
Yeah, I'm
bro,
so,
yo,
I'm so
you're
glad you
using-
saw that. 'Cause it was like it was really uncomfortable. Really
And then
uncomfortable.
Dima
Yeah.
kept
Getting
laughing.
rid of
I had
every,
like a little nicker in my mouth from it.
getting rid of every 77 kg competitor for Joseph.
That's what I said.
That's the conspiracy we've just started. So watch out for Dima. But thank you guys for coming on. We'll have to keep the conversation going at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank you for coming in.